Hello, BookTube. It occurred to me the other day that I've fallen behind on the mail. I don't want to fall behind on the mail when that's why you come here. So I thought I would make it up for you today with a bunch of books. Uh, Three of them were opened off camera. That's the reason that I've fallen behind on mail. It's not because I haven't been getting mail. It's because I've completely forgotten to wait and open the packages on camera. So we'll start off with the first one. There are three that are opened and three that are unopened. And the first one is a contemporary novelist I actually like, which is a bit of a rarity. The novelist is Teddy Wayne, and the book is The Great Man Theory, there with the requisite hideous American cover. It also has what I guess is the now requisite preposterous author photo. Young male authors, and by young I'm being generous here, I'm saying under 40 or under 45, they all have this Corey Haim style, I'm just sort of a kid, I'm running my hand through my hair, I don't really know, I'm pondering deeper things, I can't be bothered with an author photo. I don't know why they're all of a sudden these little gamines on their photos when these are the most boring people in the world. Unless it's the obvious answer, which is that all of these authors are sleeping with the people who are taking the photographs. That could very well be. But let's see what we have here for The Great Man Theory. This comes out in July. So a long, long time from now. Let's see here. Paul is a recently demoted adjunct instructor of freshman comp. A very familiar situation for a lot of you. A divorced but doting Brooklyn father and a self-described curmudgeonly crank cataloging his resentment of priorities of modern life in a book called The Luddite Manifesto. Okay, that immediately makes me want to know, is Teddy Wayne recently divorced? Did he recently lose, whether he's fired or not, a freshman comp job? Is he described on his own social media by himself as a curmudgeonly crank? It's the thing you have to wonder in the 21st century. Is the so-called novel that you have in front of you just a transcription of the author's Facebook post with no in fact fiction in it? But we shall see. Outraged by the authoritarian creep and creeps ruining the country, he is determined to better the future for his young daughter, one aggrieved lecture at a time. Shockingly, others aren't very receptive to Paul's scoldings. His child grows distant, his careerist students are less interested than ever in what he has to say, and his last remaining friends appear ready to ditch him. To make up for a lost income, he moonlights as a rideshare driver and moves in with his elderly mother, whose third act changes confound and upset him. Third act changes. Okay, so does Teddy Wayne have a daughter? Does Teddy Wayne occasionally do gig work as a rideshare driver? And is Teddy Wayne's mother transitioning? Or is this a code for transitioning? I don't know. But believe it or not, I'm going to go into this with a wide open mind. The cover copy is not doing any favors for me, but the author's credit in the Bank of Steve could not be any higher. It takes a lot more than a kind of come hither dreamy author photo for that to decrease. As one indignity follows the next, and Paul's disaffection with his circumstances and society mounts, he concocts a dramatic plan to right the world's wrongs and give himself a more significant place in it. Dyspeptically funny, bubbling over with insights into America's cultural landscape and a certain type of cast-aside man who wants to rectify it, The Great Man Theory is a work of a brilliant original writer at the height of his powers. Okay, well, that last part I could easily understand. I suppose I should try and show you the photo that I'm talking about, right? Hey, babe, come here often? But that cover description doesn't fill me with enthusiasm. But as far as I'm concerned, this is a novelist who can do no wrong. If you want a satire of celebrity culture that manages the unbelievable feat of being both biting and loving, then, borrow the love song of Johnny Valentine out of your library or get a paperback copy of it. I might even be blurbed on the paperback for all I know. I've never seen the book. I've never seen a copy of the book, so I don't know. But you could do worse, and I am very much looking forward to this book. I will ignore its cover copy when I get the finished copy and just treat it on its own grounds. Then the next opened book is by Michael Benson, and it is Gangsters versus Nazis. The subtitle being How Jewish Mobsters Battled Nazis in Wartime America. So let's see what this one is. As Adolf Hitler rose to power in 1930s Germany, A growing wave of fascism began to take root on American soil. Nazi activists started to gather in major American cities. By 1933, more than 100 anti-Semitic groups were operating openly in the United States. It was an enormous one right in Boston. Few Americans dared to speak out or fight back until an organized resistance of notorious mobsters waged their own personal war against the Nazis in their midst. Okay, a couple of things wrong with that, but let's just press on. In this thrilling blow-by-blow account, acclaimed writer Michael Benson uncovers the truth about the insidious rise of Nazis in America and the Jewish mobsters who stopped them. Packed with surprising, little-known facts, graphic details, and unforgettable personalities, this book chronicles the mob's most ruthless tactics in defeating fascism, inspiring patriotic Americans to join them in their fight. Here's one of the most infamous events of pre-war America, the 1939 Nazi rally in Madison Square Garden, in which law-abiding citizens stood aside hardened criminals to fight for the soul of a nation. This is the story of the mob that's rarely told, one of the most fascinating chapters in American history and American organized crime. Well, at least you managed to work in the word crime. That's great. Needless to say, that cover copy also has a book to sell. And maybe it sold it to you, those of you who are true crime fans. It certainly didn't sell it to me. The idea that in 1930s America, that ordinary citizens who weren't Nazis were just sort of meekly looking the other way, really afraid to speak out against the Nazis in their midst, is sheer fantasy. And the mob was fighting the Nazis because the Nazis were muscling in on their control of money. Illicit drug trade. Illicit gambling trade. Not for any heroic reasons. Not at all. If you're going, I'm hoping, I don't know anything about this book. This book comes out in May. So a long while yet for me to think about it. But if it's elevating the Nazis to the status of patriotic heroes, it's going to make me throw up. The fact that you fight the Nazis does not make you a good person. Notice my restraint. I did not aim that strictly at Twitter. The fact that you fight Nazis, or claim to, for your own selfish reasons, does not make you a good person. You have to, in fact, be a good person for you to be a good person. But anyway, let's do the last of the open books, and then we'll hope for smoother sailing with the packaged books. So let's see here. This next one is by Jason Rekulak, and it is also in May, and it's called Hidden Pictures. I'm assuming that this is the galley copy, and that the front cover will be a child's drawing or an out of focus photo or something, because that's fairly evocative. That's kind of weird for that to be an American cover. But what have we got here? Fresh out of rehab, Mallory Quinn takes a job as a babysitter for Ted and Carolyn Maxwell, looking after their 5-year-old son Teddy. Mallory immediately loves it. She has her own living space, goes out for nightly runs, and has the stability that she craves. Fresh out of rehab, she would be craving stability. And she sincerely bonds with Teddy, a sweet, shy boy who is never without his sketchbook and pencil. His drawings are the usual fare: trees, rabbits, balloons. Oh, okay, so maybe a cover with a child's drawing on it would be a good idea for this book. I perhaps ranted too soon. But one day he draws something different. A man in a forest dragging a woman's lifeless body. Then Teddy's artwork becomes increasingly sinister, and the stick figures quickly evolve into lifelike sketches well beyond the ability of any 5-year-old. Mallory begins to wonder if these are glimpses of a long unsolved murder, perhaps relayed by a supernatural force. So could this be modern horror? Quite a few of you read modern horror, and I tend not to. But not because of any prejudice. I don't get it. And I don't get it in the mail. I also think I don't get it on the deeper level either. But otherwise, no, I'd be happy to. Especially since I am appearing in a modern horror anthology, Served Cold, a horror tube anthology in which I am on the table of contents. So I guess I should read more of it if that's what this is. But I bet it's not. I bet there's no horror explanation for the improvement in Teddy's drawings. I'd be surprised if that were the case. Knowing just how crazy it all sounds, Mallory nevertheless sets out to decipher the images and save Teddy before it's too late. Could the cover jacket copywriter be giving away the game there accidentally? You read enough of these things, you start to read between the lines. Good Lord, I've read millions of these things, and if you've watched this channel, you've read millions of them too, just by virtue of listening to me. Is it possible that the game is a little bit given away by the fact that Mallory wants to save Teddy, but not his parents? We shall see. This comes out in May, so I don't have to think about it for a while. Who is Jason Rekulak, though? He's the author of The Impossible Fortress. Oh, that got some talk. Which was translated into 12 languages and was nominated for the Edgar Award. For many years, he was the publisher of Quirk Books. Oh my, I have some Quirk books right here in this room. An independent press where he acquired multiple New York Times bestsellers. He lives in Philadelphia. Okay, well, at least the author bio did not say he lives in Philadelphia with his son Teddy, who's precocious in the arts. I'll take what I can get. So now we'll move on to the packages. So the mail is back on track. Although, it's still not going to be the same or anything close to what it once was on this channel. Those of you who've been here for the long haul will remember the pre-COVID days when I would get baskets of mail every single day. And I do still. My inbox is still absolutely full every day with offers of e-galleys, of files and NetGalley links and whatnot. The traffic hasn't slowed down at all. But the books that are just mailed indiscriminately out to reviewers, that has slowed to a halt. I don't know what will happen with that. I have no idea. Americans just psychically seem done with COVID-19, with the whole pandemic, and yet pandemic numbers are surging. And I think the reason why is because it's sort of percolated into the popular consciousness that the Omicron variant is less likely to kill you. That is not true. It's only less likely to kill you if you've been a responsible citizen for the last 2 years. If you haven't been, and 150 million Americans have not been, it could easily kill you. But it does seem, from what I've been able to see on the experts talking to it, the Omicron variant does seem to affect only the upper respiratory tract. So you get the nose, you get the sinuses, you get the throat, but you don't get the lungs. The Delta variant really attacked the lungs. And then you can end up in the hospital. So maybe this is just one more step towards COVID-19 becoming just endemic, just adapting to its environment. That is, technically, viruses don't actually have a brain, but that is technically what they want. That's technically what all viruses want, at least in an evolutionary sense. They want to be mild enough so that they can propagate everywhere, instead of being so severe that they kill off their host, their body of hosts before they can propagate. So in that sense, Ebola would be a very unsuccessful virus, whereas the common cold is a superbly successful virus because it's not only ubiquitous, but it's so mild that no one even thinks about it. But if, let's say, the numbers, the Omicron numbers drop off a cliff, as they very well might once spring and summer come. That happens with respiratory viruses of any kind. That once people start spending more and more time outside, the numbers tend to go down. If that happens, maybe mail will come back to normal. That would certainly be nice. It would be the smallest of fringe benefits. I would like that to happen for a lot of other reasons, too. Oh, fantastic. Oh, great. All right, well, we have a penguin. That's always a good thing. This is the Penguin Vitae series, which we've seen on this channel. We've seen a bunch of them. They are pretty. Oh, boy, are they pretty. And this is something I just wrote about for Open Letters Review. This is The Sun Also Rises. In the horizontal design here. Very nice. And look at this. You've got your Ex Libris tag is right there in the book. You can just write your name there. And you've got the end papers here. Very, very nice. What's the back look like? Here we go. Very, very nice. Sewn binding. This is just a naked hardcover with the embossed letters there of Hemingway's book, which is, it's his debut novel. It's in the public domain, so everybody can do a copy. If you were to search for The Sun Also Rises on Amazon, for instance, you will see dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of editions. Anybody could do. You could print it yourself if you wanted to. Whereas if you had searched for The Sun Also Rises 10 years ago, you would not have seen that bounty. This bounty is all of a sudden because of copyright. Great. I now have a number of different editions of The Sun Also Rises. I wonder how many more I'll get. I got the Penguin Classic Deluxe Edition. That's the one I wrote about for Open Letters. If I remember, I'll leave a link down below. And it was the Penguin Classic Deluxe Edition that also prompted me to reread the book. Uh, I know that a lot of you for years have been hoping. I'm not Hemingway's biggest fan, and I have a lot of reasons for that. That's not just a gut reaction. I have a lot of reasons. I don't think his books are any good, and I think his short stories are only marginally better than no good. And I went into The Sun Also Rises when I got that beautiful Penguin Classic Deluxe Edition, hoping that that would change my mind, and I saw more worth in it. It is, and in parts a well hammered together novel, but I made a big mistake. I made a big mistake because I was going to write about the book. So I reread the Sun Also Rises related chapters from the 2 or 3 Hemingway biographies that I have. And that's never a good idea. At least on my part, that's never a good idea, because Hemingway is an odious person. You have to really, really strenuously read between the lines to come up with the jovial, man's man, two-fisted, friend to all, glad-handing author that was the authorial persona that he liked to put out in the world. You really have to read between the lines, especially when it's a young Hemingway, the Hemingway who was, happy about the word-of-mouth success of a couple of short story collections and who was hoping that this novel would do really well. The sections of his biographies about that Hemingway are repellent just from beginning to end, unless maybe you count that he doted on his kid, on his baby. But anyway, I'm very happy to have another copy of The Sun Also Rises. But I suppose in the standard booktuber way, now that I am a massively successful, sexy influencer, I should probably ask if one of you wants this more than I do. I have the Penguin Classic Deluxe Edition, and I also have I have an ebook of The Sun Also Rises. There's absolutely no reason for me to have this, and it is lovely. It is an absolutely lovely thing. This is just going to sit here. Surely out there listening to me, there are mega Hemingway fans. One of whom would probably like this, right? I'm not going to do any of the standard booktuber falderall. I don't know how to use a random number generator. I'm not going to do anything. You don't have to click or smash that like button or anything like that. Just email me and let me know if you want this. And if you live in America, I'll be happy to send it to you. Not overseas. Not since changes in the American postal system. Not only would it never reach you, because the American postal system has just deteriorated to the point where it can't be trusted anymore, but also because it would be eye-wateringly expensive to mail even a small book overseas. And also the third thing, not to stress it too much, but I have sent many, many books overseas to many of you over the years, and I say, you email me and you say, hey, I'd like this book. And I say, okay, I'll mail it to you. Give me your address. And you give me your address. And I look at the address and I think, that doesn't look complete. I email you back and say, are you sure this is complete? It doesn't look complete. It looks to me like if I put this on an envelope, it's going to disappear. It's not going to reach you. And you write back and say, oh yeah, this vital detail I left out. All right, well now it's complete. And you send me that and I look at it and I think, And I write you back a day or two later and I say, are you sure that this address is complete? It still strikes me as incomplete. Are you sure there's nothing missing? And you write back a day or two later and say, oh yeah, I left out another important, absolutely vital detail, the inclusion of which is the difference between it going missing or it reaching me. That has happened enough times so that I don't want to mail anything overseas anymore. I just don't want to do it. Especially, but not limited to, the fact that one time when one person did that, a couple of times, and I wrote back and said, all right, are you absolutely sure that this is the right address? And I said, yeah, I'm absolutely sure. And I mailed it, and it didn't reach them. And a month later, they emailed me and said, I never got it. Did you send it? And I said, yes, I did. Here's the screenshot of the address you sent me. And they emailed back and said, oh yeah, I left out another detail. Oh, sorry about that. And I said, well, yeah, I'm sorry too. It was $75. I'm sorry too. And they responded by saying, so could you try again? So long story short, I do not mail anything overseas anymore. unless you're blood kin. I don't do that. But if you're in America and you want a very nice copy of The Sun Also Rises, I'd be happy to send it to you. Because I just being fair, I don't love the book enough to have multiple copies of it. So anyway, now we'll do this next one. It's in one of these asbestos envelopes. That's got a weird shape to it. Oh, because it's just bound pages. It's not a review copy, and it's not a finished copy. It's just that somebody put a spiral binding on loose pages. So what have we got here? We won't have any pub sheet or anything like that for this. This is by Stephen Angle, and it is called Growing Moral, A Confucian Guide to Life, from Oxford University Press. No idea what the book's going to look like. You just have to look it up yourself. In fact, this far ahead, there might not even be preliminary cover artwork. So this is for 2022, but I have no idea about dates. No, nothing like that. So what are we going to do here? We don't have any kind of publisher stuff. Let's just read the beginning of the introduction and see if that does anything for us. I think I also have an e-copy of this, which would be a lot more convenient to read than spiraled out here. Let's see how the introduction starts. See if it strikes your fancy. He drew his last breath. Has never been more than an antiquated figure of speech to me, but that changed on June 1st, 2015. My brother and I sat by our father's side, his bony, fragile hands in ours, as he drew his last breath. It was a feint, a struggle. The broad outlines of what happened in the next few hours and days will be familiar to many readers and easily imagined by the rest. Hugs and tears, moments of reflection, laughter mixed with more tears, a service in a church, a graveside service. Some details are more particular, such as the Congregationalist church or the sailor playing taps, as befits a retired member of the Navy. And then there was the quiet voice in my head, an occupational hazard of philosophers, perhaps. Yeah, the rest of us don't have quiet voices in our head. It's only you deep thinkers, about the sunsetness of sunsets. Asking, why? If that question is not rhetorical, I would like to answer it. Why what do you mean? Well, let's see if you clarify. I wasn't questioning what we were doing, all of which felt right, but I could not help thinking about why these emotions and rituals seemed both apt and important, because you were culturized to them. You'd have burned his body in the open air if you'd been culturized to that instead, and that would have felt right to you. Next question. Philosopher? Why is it significant that we honor and mourn a parent who dies? Does it matter how we do so, and again, why? It doesn't matter to the parent, although I bet that's what you think. The person is gone. They're dead. They're gone. They're not watching from somewhere else. They're not saying, oh, Billy didn't cry as much as Sammy did. Oh, I guess he never loved me as much. They're gone. They were only their brain, and their brain is gone. So they're gone. Confucianism, oh God, here we go. Somebody page Noah. Confucianism tells us that going through mourning rituals is a crucial part of living a good life. The mourning rituals were built up around the human propensity to mourn. And it's not even a human propensity. Plenty of animals mourn. Kongzi, also known as Confucius, after whom Confucianism is named, is the most famous of the 2,500-year-long tradition's philosophers. Later we will meet a few others. Even though Confucius lived more than 2 millennia ago and on the other side of the earth from some of his book's readers, Confucianism's teachings about how to live continue to resonate everywhere there are parents, children, and families. Everywhere people feel stirrings of compassion for others, but sometimes selfishly ignore them. Everywhere people wonder about how to interact with their environment. In some cases, such as my father's funeral, Confucians can help us to make sense of what we are already doing. In others, they encourage us to live our lives differently and better. The Confucian tradition has undergone many changes as it has evolved over the centuries, and that process continues down to the present. At the heart of the tradition, though, are profound insights into the human condition that have much to teach us today. Okay, well, it's a work of philosophy. Oh my, growing moral. Okay, I don't think the author and I are going to agree on a whole lot or anything, but I will certainly give it a try. I just don't know when I will. This is a totally advanced copy. I will read about probably 100, 150 pages into this thing. I don't have anywhere to put it because it's flopping all over the place. I'll read probably 100 or 150 pages into this thing tonight, just because I don't have a date on it, just to get a sense of what the book is like, but I will reserve a critical reading for the advanced copy, for the actual review copy, or for the finished copy, whichever reaches me first. And then we have the final thing here, big vacuum-pressed cardboard thing. Let's see what this is. And then we'll be done with the mail for today. Oh, fantastic. Okay, great, fantastic. Okay, this next one is Library of America. For those of you, I'm sure you're familiar with it. It's the sort of the national literature, the national library, America's answer to the national library volumes that you'll see in Italy or especially in France. That is beautiful uniform volumes, acid-free pages, sewn binding, a built-in cloth bookmark that come out regularly in the Library of America series. You could fill a floor-to-ceiling bookcase wall-to-wall with Library of America volumes that have come out so far, and that would be a really good library. I've said this many times before, but if you have bookish money burning a hole in your pocket, getting a subscription to the Library of America is one of the best ways you can spend that money. It's not, I don't think, all that cheap to do, but well worth it, especially since the books are permanent. They are very, very well made. And this is one of the latest ones. I think this might be out already. This is World War II Memoirs from the Pacific Theater. And it's just 3 of those memoirs. They all kind of look like this. Usually they're a uniform black dust jacket with the red, white, and blue line across them. Some of them have photographs. Some of them are in color. Some of them are slightly oversized. This has With the Old Breed at Peleliu and Okinawa by E.B. Sledge. I believe that was leaned on heavily for the miniseries called The Pacific. Then Flights of Passage by Samuel Hines and Crossing the Line by Alvin Kernan. Great. Fantastic. So I wonder if this will tell us, will the dust jacket tell us anything about the individual books? That would be great if it did. Oh, yes, it does. Okay, this is edited by Elizabeth Samet, and who I think has cropped up on this channel in email, in mail halls of her own. Oh, great. Oh, look at that. The end papers are colored maps that you know where things are going on. Great. Fantastic. So what have we got here? Every generation is a secret society. Former Marine pilot Samuel Hines wrote. And the secret with my generation, the one that came of age during the Second World War, shared was simply the war itself. This volume brings together the powerful memoirs of 3 Americans who came of age fighting in the Pacific and who survived to tell their stories. Remarkable literary achievements that capture history with the immediacy of lived experience. All 3, presented here in a deluxe collector's edition, are classics of the modern literature of war. In With the Old Breed, Marine veteran E.B. Sledge bears unflinching witness to the horror and degradation of prolonged close-quarter combat. A motorman serving in the frontline rifle company, Sledge served 30 days of nightmarish fighting on the remote coral island of Peleliu, where heat, thirst, filth, and fear and hatred of the Japanese eroded the veneer of civilization and made savages of us all, so he writes. On Okinawa, he faced an even greater test of endurance amid deep mud, driving rain, and incessant shelling, as men fought and bled in an environment so degrading I believe we had been flung into hell's own cesspool. Also writes the author. Written with precision and clarity, Sledge's memoir is a haunting testament to his struggle to hold on to decency and sanity, and a moving tribute to the esprit de corps of the U.S. Marines. I believe With the Old Breed is also the one of these 3 books that had the greatest commercial success. I could be wrong about that. They came out in 1981. Then from 1988, we have Flights of Passage by Samuel Hines, which is an evocative and elegiac memoir of his fairly ordinary flying war. A true believer in the religion of flight, he writes with lyricism, candor, and humor about the joys and dangers of his stateside training as a dive-bombing pilot, the beauty and excitement he experienced flying in combat, and his wartime education in the realities of friendship, sex, love, and sudden random death. I don't think I've ever read this book. And then Alvin Kernan enlisted in the Navy in 1941 at the age of 17 to escape life on a failing Wyoming ranch. And Crossing the Line, which was written in 1994 and revised in 2007, is a vividly written account of his remarkable service on 3 aircraft carriers, first as an aviation ordnance man and then as an air gunner. A perceptive and thoughtful observer of the sailor's life at sea and on shore, he witnessed the aftermath of Pearl Harbor's attack and the launching of the Doolittle raid, helped to arm planes at Midway, survived the sinking of the Hornet, and flew on the final mission of the fighter ace Edward Butch O'Hare. And the dust jacket tells me that this has 40 pages of maps, of photographs, and also end-page maps. So you've got a broader theater map on the end papers at the front, and then local colored terrain maps in the back, so that you know what you're looking at and where you are. Fantastic. Just fantastic. All right, so we end on a strong note. We end on a very strong note. It doesn't get any stronger than a new Library of America volume. Great. So how are we going to do a Steve Pyramid? The thing that's going to stop us is Confucius. And I suppose I should be content with that. But Growing Moral is the first book. It's not anything to show you, so it doesn't have to be part of the pyramid. But then we have, let's see here, The Great Man Theory, by Teddy Wayne. Up in the distance, Summer fiction from a truly talented contemporary novelist. Then Gangsters versus Nazis, which is, let's keep in mind, not good versus evil. It's evil versus evil. Okay. Then we have Hidden Pictures, a novel about a boy whose pictures start to get more and more disturbing and start to suggest there's a story out there. Then the Penguin Vitae version of The Sun Also Rises. Very pretty hardcover. And a new Library of America volume. This one, World War II Memoirs from the Pacific Theater. So the companion volume to the Western Theater. Great. Fantastic. So there you go. Plenty to interest me here. And a few things to dive into right away. I will read part of this philosophy sheep dip tonight. I won't put it with the other books. It's sort of free floating on its own, so I'll just read part of it tonight. And I will dig right into the Library of America volume, because I have a feeling that if this is getting to me now, probably the book is out already, or is a mid-January release, so I'm going to want to know about it so I can write about it. But anyway, that is the mail. Hopefully this gets us back on track, and I don't start just willy-nilly opening packages off camera again. But I will see you soon. Thank you, BookTube.